Oh my gosh, it's live. Okay, okay. If you guys are coming in now, give me a hi in the chat. Let me know you guys are here. Hello, Wes. Hello, Daniel. Yo, what's up, Shio? Glad you can make it. What's up, Alyssa? We shall wait a little more. It's obviously a cappella time, so it's not exactly a clock sharp. Okay, so I guess we'll start then. Hey guys, my name's Egan. I am a tenor baritone for the Waterboys, Unaccompanied Minors, and most recently a cappella. Um, Most of you guys have probably seen me around, mostly dancing and being silly and trying to have fun. So one of the things that we're going to talk about today is establishing yourself on a stage, getting stage presence and just figuring out how to perform better. I have some experience with drama and plays back in high school, and I do choreo as well for the Waterboys and the Unaccompanied Minors. So I have a little bit of a grasp on how we express ourselves through music and how we can better do that as musicians. So in the end of this, my objective is that we all have a better understanding of what enables stage presence and a powerful performance, and what ways can we get better at these things. So small tips that you can take away to practice with and to experiment, so to speak, because that's always helpful to have. Okay, so what's up, Ethan Chu? All right, so Let's start by talking about what the goal of a performance is. For a cappella, I believe that when we get to perform, our goal is to convey the message or the theme or the emotions of the song or the set through for a couple things, four main things. So it's my movements, so where I'm standing on stage, how I'm walking to certain points, um, my upper body motions and all that. Second, my gestures, so these are my hands, up and down, left and right behind how I hold my mic as well. That's included. My facial expressions. Am I in pain? Am I excited? Am I sad? Or am I angry? All these different expressions that we have. And of course, most importantly, because it's a cappella, our singing and my intonation. Well, that the song, the emotions I put into my voice, the grit, the texture, all those little things. So I'm not going to go super into depth about the singing aspect of a performance because I believe there are better people for that. I'll go over some examples of how um, you can use your vocals to better convey a message. But I'll mostly discuss about how we can leverage movement, gestures, and facial expressions to better convey our musical intent in a performance. So to cover those four aspects, I'm going to talk about the frames of thought I have when I'm getting up to perform. I'll discuss it from three perspectives, and I'll mention these. It's kind of like in general for like any performer. Then I'll talk a little about for soloists because I think that the soloist has a lot of agency with how they want to convey the message of the song and set. And of course, as a member as a group, because even if you aren't a soloist, the way you behave on the stage also, in fact, influences the audience, changes how they feel. So I'm going to talk about the mood of a performance. So I want you guys to close your eyes. Imagine a time where you had to go up on stage where you were less than ready. This has happened to me multiple times with the Water Boys and with the Miners. Um, it is you get a little nerve-wracking. You can feel you're antsy, you're nervous. And you start singing, and okay, you make mistakes, and you're like, oof, yikes, that was unfortunate. So as you're thinking about this, think about the negative energy that's kind of like creeping up on you. You feel uncomfortable, you feel uncertain. Well, those emotions that you're feeling, the nervousness, the jitteriness, how awkward you feel, how embarrassed you are for not knowing your music, those really do show when you're performing. It shows up as tentativeness in going for a note. You might go flat, or if you're too nervous and excited, you might go sharp. So these little things show. So keep closing your eyes, and now I want you guys to imagine the perfect performance where you guys feel that you've done everything the way that you want to be. Just everything's right, everything's in place. You are hitting all the choreo steps, and everything feels right. It feels better to have that confidence and that energy. You have a sense of accomplishment with that, and all in all, you feel like a better performer. Okay, so now open your eyes. So that exercise was to let you understand the power of knowing your music. So I believe that there are three key points when going into performance to establish this mood that I'll get into more later. But the first of these 3 points is knowing your music. Why knowing your music? So always, 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 for the sake of all musical directors out there, please know your music. And if you're in a performance and you don't know your music, well, guess what? You do now. Yep. Even if you don't know your music, the moment you get onto stage, you know your music. Why? Well, if you don't know your music, don't let the audience know. Because in reality, when you're up on stage and you start performing, if you don't know what you're doing, you don't know your music, the audience can't tell if you don't let them know, if you don't show it, if you don't show that nervousness, that jitteriness. Sure, you can get some nerves from a performance and from a stage, but when you show the audience that you're like, ooh, the scowl and the I messed up. Don't show them that because then the audience seems that you're in control. And being in control is what you need as a performer because you're trying to make an emotional connection to the audience. And when you don't have control of that emotional connection, you lose the ability to perform to them and convey emotions. Of course, there are exceptions to this. For example, if you're pulling a gag, where you're like, wait, we're forgetting something. Oh yes, Ethan True, haha, Chacapella. Um, so first point, know your music. If you don't know your music, just smile and carry on, even through mistakes. Don't act like you made any mistakes. Okay, so the second thing to it, once you know your music, we're able to start incorporating the second component of establishing a mood. That's confidence. Experience will tell us that confidence leads to quite exponential gains in terms of performance quality. The more confident you are, the better you'll feel, the better you'll sing, and the better you'll perform. Um, and this, I believe, includes the emotional highway that we facilitate as singers when performing. Confidence really makes it better and more effective because we're able to really get our message across. Confidence also lets you execute on the sheet music and the choreography as intended. You're in control and you're conveying the message. So in achieving confidence, it's often quite difficult. And a lot of people I do know, and I have struggled with myself, is we get up on stage, we feel nervous, and we're not confident on putting ourselves out there. Well, one of the best ways to get confident is to fake it. Seriously, fake it till you make it. It is so effective. When you fake it till you make it, it just lets you buy into the performance and feel better about it. You're like, okay, I got it. I got it. No questions asked. So you continue faking this self-confidence. And at a certain point you're like, wait, I do got it. And all around you, everyone's like, they got it. And they can't tell that you were faking it in the first place because you just never showed it to them. So a good way to build confidence and establish that that firmness and belief in yourself is something called power posing. So this is a little more of a controversial topic in terms of how effective it really is, but I think that again, go back to the fake it till you make it concept. If you put yourself in a position of power and you feel confident in yourself, it will show in your actions as long as you believe it in yourself. So I want you guys to stand up. So I'll stand up with you guys. So you're gonna stand up and we're gonna do some power posing. So these include like standing with your hips in your waist, chest out, or for example, Trapella we like to just mess around, T-pose on people, just do power posing. This lets you, get out of your shell and expose. So one of the things I really like to do before a performance, you guys can do this with me, is I'll go into a bathroom or to a little secluded place, get into my own space, and then I will belt. I'll just sing as loud as I can. I will project. I will, get my lips loose. And what this does is that it gives me confidence in my vocals. It gives me confidence in my voice again. I'll go like vocal warm-ups also does this, but I believe that going to a corner yourself and really letting your voice just get out there and being comfortable and confident with what you have, it makes a really big difference in what you're able to do. Okay, so that's confidence. All right. So 3 points. The third point is buying into the emotion or the story that the performance is all about. So this kind of goes against the whole fake it till you make it. But the reason why I say it's important to buy into the emotion is because when you actually feel an emotion, it's so much easier and so much more effective in how you can express that emotion genuinely and convince the audience that you're feeling that emotion of the song or the story. For example, like if I'm not really sad, but I'm just pretending to be sad, I'm just like, oh, whatever, this song isn't really sad to me. It won't actually be as guttural as moving as if if I'm on the stage and you can hear my voice tremble when I sing because I fully bought into that sadness and that emotion. On the other hand, if I'm singing about, it being Saturday night, but I'm not like hype. I'm just like, oh, it's Saturday night. Is it really Saturday night? Nah, nah, it's not. Okay, so I want you guys to try this exercise. We'll use a song on my own from Les Miserables. Let's sing this really straight, like poker faced. Okay, well, let's go with on my own, pretending he's beside me, all alone. So it's really dull and bland and a bit boring. But okay, now let's add some emotion to it. So let's think about how Empany is feeling in that stage. She's feeling abandoned, she's feeling sad, and there's a degree of like, you know, giving up to whatever whims the world has. So let's add that sadness into it. And it's okay, I'm sad. The guy I like just went for another girl. I'm by myself. On my own, pretending he's beside me. All alone, I walk with him till morning. And that the pauses and the more timid and more tender tone that's in the voice, that really does add to it. And that comes from saying, okay, how do I feel? How does the song what is the emotion the song is trying to convey and what is it feeling? And getting into that feeling and really, you know, buying into it and performing that and singing that. So once again, these three concepts, knowing your music, confidence in yourself and everything, as well as buying into the emotion. These three come together and help you establish your mood for a performance. Okay, so what is the mood? So I think the mood is the energy, the essence, or the vibe of a performance. It's like, for example, is when people say, "Oh yeah, we really vibed that, we really vibed with the performance, we really felt it." That's when you know that the mood has truly come out of you and it's really conveyed in your song. It's when the audience can associate and relate to the emotion that is captured by the mood. It's when you feel the tension in the air as an audience member. You can feel like, oh, they're really sad. Like this is a really sad moment. A good example of establishing this mood and creating this environment includes sets like Amazing Blues Chasing Love, as well as a lot of IFC sets. They do that really, really well in their musicality. So getting into this mood is a matter of internal. It's about getting into your space and really feeling that the emotions and the mood. This is important, even though it's only internal, it's only for you yourself as a performer. It's important to get into the right mood for a performance because then it lets you better project the emotions and the story to the audience. Because like going back to the third point of buy into the emotion story, if you don't really feel it, it's really hard to genuinely express it. So before we move on to how do we express this mood to people, if you guys have any questions, shoot them in the chat. I'll answer them. We'll wait for a couple minutes before we'll move on to the more practical side of performing. We've established how to get into the mood and how to create that mood for yourself as a performer before going up to performance. So now that we have that mood and we've got it into a performance, it's like, okay, I know what the song is about. I'm ready to sing it and feel it. How do we take this mood that we're feeling and how do we convey it to our audience? So as I mentioned earlier, there are four aspects. We have our gestures, which are these things, hands. We have our movements, how we're moving about on stage, how we walk, where we stand, how we stand. Our facial expressions, so the sadness, the happiness, the scrunch up, quizzical, the angry, and of course the singing. So I'm going to talk about these four aspects of performance, and we're going to go from the top down. So the first one is singing. All right. So this is a very obvious channel of emotional transaction. It occurs like the actual singing. So you have your tone, your words, the emphasis on the words, like what phrases you're stressing, the notes that are chosen, the chords that are built, so on and so forth. There's a lot of things that you can do with your actual singing that conveys emotion, and these vary from song to song. Performance to performance. I won't really spend too much time on specifics. What I do want you guys to know is that, and take note, there are really a lot of ways, like really a lot of ways to add emotional texture and depth to your singing. So, for example, um, I performed this at coffee house, coming home by Scholar Gray, the part two one without the rap. So, let's do second verse. Still far away from where I belong, but it's always darkest before the dawn, and you can doubt and you can hate, but I know no matter what it takes. So that's more straight and more like, I suppose it's a little more monotone emotionally. Whereas when you do something with like a sadness in emotion, still far away from where I belong, but it's always darkest before the dawn. So you can doubt and you can hate, but I know no matter what it takes. And there, the change in the vocals and how I sang that adds a lot more to the, you know, the pleading and the hopefulness that the song has, while also adding in the sadness that it has. Um, Another way you can also change the emotion or the feel of a song. In the bridge of Say Amen, Brendan Urie goes down to a couple of lower notes. And sometimes you can sing this straight where it's not really dark and it just feels like, okay, this is a bridge. Um, if I had one more day to wish, if I had one more day to be better than I could have ever been. If I had one more day to wish, if I had one more day, it could be better, but baby. So if you watch Brandon Urie perform that, he doesn't sing it that way. He adds a darkness to it. It's this foreboding part of the song where it's like saying, I could. If I had one more day, but nah. And he sings it with a little more a darker tone. It also it hints to his background. So it goes more like, if I had one more day to wish, if I had one more day to be better than I could have ever been. If I had one more day to wish, if I had one more day, it could be better, but baby. Or it's more dramatic and fuller, and that adds to the anticipation of when he then plunges into the high notes right after that. Okay, so the primary burden of the singing and the emotional transaction that singing has is obviously carried by the soloist. So we're going back to that perspective of the soloist. But now let's look at the group. The group also plays a really large role in establishing the overall atmosphere through singing. When you're singing or da 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 or ba ba, you can do so in a manner that adds and supports the emotion that the soloist is, bearing, or rather belting their heart out for. An example of this is in voice plays, the Oogie Boogie song. The rest of the group comes in with a very spooky and haunting da 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 da, where there's a little tentative and creepy air and edge to the das. It's just das, but the way they perform it and the way they sing it adds to the element of, well, 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 it's the Yogi Boogie Man and he's got Santa Claus. So that's singing. Let's now move to facial emoting. Okay, so one of the biggest critiques that we always hear in every conductor's critique is people have the dreaded dead face. Just the dead face when they're singing. It's remember me. It's just dead. No emotions. And this is always a big thing, and we want to combat that. So how do we combat that? Okay, so first, eyebrows. So I don't really have full eyebrows. They die off halfway, but you still gotta work these eyebrows. You gotta raise them, scrunch them, make them go crazy. Ooh, okay, wait, sorry. I just got updated. I can't actually see the comments. Let me check. Sorry, let's take a short break and make sure that I can see the comments. If you guys have questions, I really should be answering them. Okay. So Alyssa has we have a question of how do you perform a piece that's all emotionally relatable to you? So performing a piece that isn't emotionally relatable is often difficult because it's hard to then get into the moods of faking it till you make it, of buying into the emotion. So the way you know, perform a piece that isn't as emotionally moving to you, the trick is to go back to the whole idea of the confidence is fake it till you make it. What I do is I listen to the song that I'm trying to convey and just listen to it on repeat and let those feelings ruminate. It's harder to connect to a song that you don't actually have like the emotional depth and the experiences to go through. But I look at a lot of covers by the song and see how people have taken that no, the artist's original intent and interpreted. That helps me get perspective on how I can incorporate different nuances, movements and gestures, facial expressions to convey that the meaning that the song has. It's really for me, it's about finding elements of the piece that I can emotionally connect to, even though I may not connect to the whole piece, and making sure that to tie these elements into the overall story that the piece has. Um, Trying to think of an example. For a lot of ballads and like slow songs, you guys know, it's not really my vibe. I'm more the upbeat, super fun kind of person. But I listen to like what I'll do with those stuff is I'll listen to a lot of Sam Smith, um, some of James Arthur, where their music is really it's more heart wrenching and more guttural, and you really feel that emotion in their singing sometimes. And just listening to them in detail and how they will change their inflections, they will add grit where appropriate. Those things help me then perform a piece that I can't emotionally relate to as well, in a way that's still emotionally effective. I hope that answers your question. Okay, facial emoting. Let us continue with that practice. So, I want you guys to pull out your phones, um, and open up your camera to the selfie cam. So, yeah, you guys can see it. Selfie cam. Okay, so I do this a lot. You can do this in the mirror if it's easier for you guys, but I'm not gonna go to the mirror back there. I'll use my camera. So we're gonna go through a range of emotions, and these will help you see how your eyebrows affect your emotion. Okay, so first I want you guys to be sad. Do a sad face, but don't try to move your eyebrows as little as possible. Okay, so for me that is something like that, where my lips will drop a little, my eyes will look a little sad. Okay, so now let's do this, but let's add our eyebrows in. So for me, when I'm sad, my eyebrows kind of like go, kind of stretch, get in the middle. It's like they raise a little. I get a little furrows in my forehead, and you can see that versus is a lot more effective in actually conveying that there's sadness. Let's do a happy emotion now. So that's without the eyebrows versus with the eyebrows, where you can raise them, and it feels like I look happier and more elated because the eyebrows add the element of oh, it's happy. You're happy now. So now let's do an angry one. So for me, it's really hard to do angry with the eyebrows. So I'll demonstrate what it looks like with with eyebrows first. So yeah, look into your phone and just like, and then try to do it without your eyebrows. I just can't do it. And these furrowing of eyebrows and playing with them, well, it really helps you convey these emotions better. Another thing is with these, scrunches, the raises, the what are you doing? Exaggerate the eyebrows because when you're on stage, it's often hard to see how when you're far from the audience. Try to really express them and like raise them. So another exercise you can do when warming up for performance is, go to the bathroom, look in the mirror, raise them eyebrows, work these boys. Yes, Eugene, definitely be angry. Yes. I'm sorry, there's a delay in the chat and the actual video, so I'll see your comments and like it'll show up a second later. I'm just like, oops. Okay, so after we have our eyebrows and facial emoting done, we actually there's a lot more you can do with this. Your eyes also have a really big impact on your facial expressions. All right, so we got our eyebrows done for facial emoting, but now eyes. So a more cold glare, it's like you can't really see my eyes, but that is a lot different from where it's a lot less intense and it's weaker and you don't seem as angry. Again, you can do the same trick with your cell phone where you know, look at yourself in your selfie camera and play with these expressions. But when it comes to eyes, we also have to consider where we're looking. So, rule number one when it comes to eye contact in performances. Never, ever, ever. Just please don't. Unless choreographed, please do not. Do not look down. The reason why I say don't look down is because that cuts off your eye contact with the audience. Cutting off eye contact with the audience, unless choreographed and specifically intended, means that you no longer have the ability to convey emotions to them. Musically, it also means that you're now singing to the ground and nobody can really hear you. You guys can hear me because the mic is right next to my mouth, but like nobody can hear you when you're singing to the ground versus when you're singing up. If choreographed while singing and looking down, move your body forward. So what I'm gonna do is don't do this. Unless, of course, choreographed. Do a little more of this, where you're still looking down, but you have the ability to also support your core and you're not closing off your throat when you're singing. So for eye contact, just look up, look about, look at each other when you're performing with people. Just look at the audience and like when you really want to make like someone cry in a particular moment of a song, just look at them really, really intensely. Like just pick someone out, just single them out, just really, really look at them and just sing to them and just make them feel really, 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 really sad, like they want to cry because you feel the pain of the song. And because your eyes are pleading with them and your eyebrows are furrowed sadly, and your mouth is slightly ajar and your hand is trembling or your voice is trembling, and that you send that emotion, the sadness to them. Facial expressions, people. That's how you do that. Of course, again, with the same thing with the eyebrows. Just go big. Like, you gotta go big or go home. Even though I want to be coming home. Ha. You really got to express these and make really big and full emotions because, again, on stage it's hard to see, and when you exaggerate the emotions, it just punches better to the audience. Okay, so confidence in buying into the song gets you into the audience member's mind, so you can then tell them how you feel with your face. And once your face is okay, you realize that when performing, especially for EOTs or ICAs, we have mics. So let's talk a little bit about mic technique because that's also a big part about performance. So say hi to Mike. He's my stand-in mic today. Okay, so first, how do you hold your mic? This is not a very good example. I don't have a mic-sized object in my house, unfortunately. I could take a wooden spoon from the kitchen, but I'll pass. So I like to hold mine with thumb underneath, pinky underneath as well, and then three fingers on top. Some people will do this. Some people will do this. Honestly, I like this because what this lets you do is it lets you support the mic on 2 points, and you have a third point to make sure they have a good grip. And then when you're holding the mic, so I'll do this, you want to hold it around here. Keep it about 4 or 5, 4 fingers or so, a hand span from your mouth. This lets you project into it without spitting into it like you're a crazy madman. Of course, for basses, this is different because you guys are going dum 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 dum. But yes, so mic technique. All right, I want you guys to take your phones. I use this a lot for rehearsals. Grab your phones, hold it there. I'm going to use my mic because I can. So we have our phones. We're going to do a little mic technique exercise. Okay, so we're going to look in multiple directions, and you guys are going to move your mic with you. So the mic should always be parallel to the ground, or sorry, perpendicular to your face. May or may not be parallel to the ground. So move left, move right, look up, look down. Snap front, So the top left and back again. So these are things that you can do to practice your mic technique on making sure that the mic is always in front of your mouth when you're singing, because then we can actually catch up your beautiful voices and make them sound really, really good. Of course, that's audio, guys. That's audio team stuff, not me. Okay, so that's my technique. From mic technique, we then say, okay, one hand is doing this. What's the other hand doing? Ah, it's gestures. Okay, so everyone, let's make some space. Okay, let's all start T-posing, okay? So once you're T-posing, all right, start bopping a little. Okay, okay, y'all ready? All right, so on the count of three, I want you guys to just swing your arms like crazy. Like you're just like trashing in the water, trying to stay afloat. You're just going crazy, okay? So 3, 2, 1. Ah! Go front, go back, go everywhere. Okay. That is the range that your hands really have. And in performances, you should absolutely use the whole range of your arms because we're actually quite mobile, guys. Like, it's pretty useful. So, we have the range of motion with emoting. Okay, so what you can do, right, is UWACC standard is mic hand is left hand. So let's get our mics, keep them here, left hand. All right. Then our right hand, it's up here. So we can, do that, 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 that. It's really good because you have this whole range of motion that you can play with your arm. Send it out, send it back, pull it forward, pull it back, boys, choreo. Ha. Yes. The reason why UWACC standard operating procedure is left hand, unless of course choreo changes it. Most people are right-handed. Call me rightist, whatever. We're more expressive with our dominant hand because we are in better control of what we want to do with them. And this lets us be more emotive and take charge of what expressions and gestures our hands are making. So how do we gesture with the arms? We saw the full range, okay? So the arm. Let's start with the hand. Okay, first, open, close, open, close, open, close. Jazz hands! Of course, don't slap people with these hands. Unless you choreo it. Like just don't hurt people. If you hurt someone, say sorry to them. Like, I'm sorry, my hand just got out of control. It got too gestury. Okay? But as you saw, there's many ways that you can use your hands to emote for songs. For example, when you're reaching out this way, or when you're reaching out like this, they say stop, don't go. This is like wait, come back. This is take my offer, take my hand. This when you close your hand like this, it's more of grabbing something slowly and tenderly. When you close your hand like this, it's taking something from someone. It's assertive. And these small details, the nuances in like, okay, so how do I unfold my hand? How close I hold my hand? Am my hand trembling? Is it firm? How loose my fist is? How loose my fingers are? These are small details that you can use to convey emotion. So let's try another exercise, this time with our hands and with singing. So we're going to sing completely standing straight. Absolutely nothing. So pick a song, any song. I'm going to go with Say Amen because I can. So, okay, my right hand's stuck. It's glued to my side. It's just like, been traveling in packs that I can carry anymore. Been waiting for somebody else to carry me. There's nothing else there for me. And my door, all the people I know aren't who they used to be. So even though I'm adding the vocal, energy, the flares in my face, my hands just kind of here doing nothing. So now let's add the hand back in. Let's get this chair out of the way so I don't fall over. And we'll do it this way. If I had one more day to wish, if I had one more day, it could be better, but baby. So these little swings, the flows, Let's go back to the intro, the beginning. Been traveling in packs that I can carry anymore. Been waiting for somebody else to carry me. There's nothing else left for me. At my door are the people I know, aren't who they used to be. And if I try to change my life one more day, there will be nobody else to save. And I can't change into a person I don't wanna be so. So just adding the hand gesturing adds a lot of effective emotions to your performances. Yes, hello Jason. Yes, I am standing. So, okay. So that's hand movements. So after we move these, there's something still missing. It's like, okay, wait, I was standing still. And standing still and doing, hand stuff, it's great. It's effective. It does something. But we really want to be able to move and, move appropriately for performance. So time to talk about movements. Okay? Um, Actually, before I move on, does anyone have any questions about the thing that I talked about for gesturing and face, as well as for facial expressions, your eyebrows, your eyes, as well as where you're looking, your bite technique, and also your gestures. Any questions about that? Okay, so I guess there are no questions. If you guys have any questions after the fact, please feel free to message me. My socials have been linked on most of the posts. You guys can definitely ask me stuff. And if you guys want me to watch you guys try to perform a piece, and I'll talk about a little about what you can do to add more emotion to it through your gesturing and your emoting. Feel free, definitely feel free to reach out and ask. Okay, so walking. Um, for this, again, let's get up and stand up and let's start walking around. Okay. So when it comes to acapella, um, I'll lower the camera a little so you guys can see. There are many different ways of walking on stage. So you can walk to the beat, 2 steps per beat, or 1 step every 2 beats. Of course, this will depend on the type of song and the emotion you want to convey. For example, usually walking on beat is the most general purpose. It works. Walking 2 steps every beat is usually for when you're speeding things up in faster pace. Walking a step every 2 beats is for more sad, more somber portions of a song. So set a steady pace. 2, 3, 4, and just walk. Okay, so that's walking with a step repeat. So that's more like, okay, a steady, regular things, are what you expect. Now we do the same. Let's use the same tempo, but this time we'll walk 1 step every 2 beats. And so what that does is that although the tempo is say the same, you're now slowing down the energy of the song, and that makes it a little sadder, a little more emotional, and also helps you build drama and suspense. Yeah, I'm squatting so you guys can see me in frame. Okay, so now let's do walking 2 steps every beat. So we'll go back again, 2, 3, and. Okay, no, I messed it up. 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 4, and. So what that does, of course, it builds intensity and it makes things feel faster. Um, okay, let's sit back down. Okay, there is a question now. So how do you do breath control when doing heavy choreo? Okay, that's actually really good because a part of movement is also your posture. So one of the important things to note when doing a lot of singing and dancing is you want to keep your core. So everything here down. You want to keep this mostly upright as much as you can because when you breathe, right, you're breathing stomach out, back out as well. So it's these 2 areas that you don't want to restrict. So anything tight around the chest, tight around the stomach, that affects your ability to breathe. Of course, scrunching up and that affects it. So what you want to do is try to keep your core straight. So activate your core muscles, and try to keep your stomach open so you can breathe. Another thing is that when you are thinking about the choreo, look at times when there is a lull where you can breathe. This also applies to singing. Look at parts in the song where you're able to breathe appropriately, and effectively controlling your breath and like being able to use it properly when doing heavy choreo comes a lot from your preparation and just setting up you're like, okay, I can breathe here, I can take a deep breath here, I need to take a shallow breath here, and this knowledge and information that you prepare helps you better, more effectively perform while doing heavy choreo. Even if I'm going ham, like jumping around, it's like I have sang a note mid jump. It was not the greatest. It was not very satisfying to do. Sorry, it wasn't very like stable of a note, but it came out cleanly and boy was it satisfying because I took the breath in and then on the jump I exhaled the same I sang out at the same time and that made it a consistent clear note. Could have been louder, could have been better, but it was a clear note and it worked for the song because it was after a drop. It's just like bum, ba-da-da-da. Of course, it was Say Amen. I mean, that's like my entire UAC career, Say Amen. Okay, so um, a really good video to watch on effective movement. Um, Again, Amazing Blues Chasing Love. I'm going to now. Can I share screen on this? Let me see if I can. Well, sorry everyone, technical difficulties. Yikes. All right, okay, it's back, right? This is very sad. Oh, okay, I can see Jason now. Okay. It got dark because it's getting late and the lights in my room are only so bright, unfortunately. I shall re-invite the people. Well, I guess Facebook has technical limitations. I can't really screen share. But yes, Amazing Blues Chasing Love. There are portions of the choreo where the soloists they turn and walk on words. And the words specifically are. I will link this in the comments. So you guys open that up. You'll see the soloist turn and walk on the words, and that builds the tension of the actual line and phrase and makes it more impactful to the audience because you say, okay, oh, don't you say it. Jason, I don't have an iPad. So with a lot of movements as well, we also have to, grooving, and oftentimes this is very difficult for people because it's like, how do we groove? So I've talked about how do you walk and the different, I guess, rates to walk at. Oftentimes you may have to do a quick step and just like make sure you plant your right foot every downbeat, something like that. But when it comes to grooving, the biggest thing that I have learnt from performing is you need to do one thing, and that makes a really big difference. Let's go back here. It's these good boys here. Bend your knees. So when you're grooving, right, a lot of times there's no level, so you're like kind of like this, da, da. But that's just horizontal. So horizontal grooving is great because you can like that's cool, but you also want to get vertical grooving in there. So ba da 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 da, and this makes it more lively, more animated, more bubbly. And okay, not really more bubbly, but it gives you more depth and range of space to work with. Remember when we did the exercise with the hands when we did all that? That was to get acclimatized with how much range your arms are able to, express. Get the knees in there. You can go lower and get up to the audience, or pull back, or you go to the side, side. Those working your knees. That's how you get this grooving going. Cool. So another thing to do in grooving is how do you want to play the beat of your groove? So sometimes arrangers will make it spicy and they will throw in a halftime. So when you halftime groove, you want to groove on the halftime beat. A good example of how not to do this is Minor's Fall 19 performance, where in the opening song, in Hypnotic, I do not groove fully on beat for Hypnotic. Doesn't If I didn't tell you, you probably would be like, oh, maybe you notice it. But during the performance, it feels natural and these things. So a lot of this again is tied into choreo and comes to practice. So really, when people who choreograph, like the dance, the moves for the sets get frustrated, it's because they're thinking about all this, and it's really difficult to see people kind of like, I am Scarecrow. How do I move? Help, please teach. It's some simple fundamentals, bending your knees, moving, knowing the beats that's happening and being able to groove to it. We talked about walking and grooving, but now let's talk a little bit about walking with a purpose and like how do you walk on a stage. Don't wander aimlessly, unless, of course, the intent is to convey lost or actually, no, even when the intent is to convey you're lost. When you walk on stage, walk with a purpose. If you're wandering aimlessly, you know where you're going to end up and wander to that point. An example, really good example of this is the choreography done by Sarah, sorry, Cleggs, for End of All Things. Yes, End of All Things, the Minors Fall 1970. I'm going to pull a lot from my experiences with acapella because I see a lot of the things that you should do. But yes, the way that Clegg's choreographed that portion was we were all blowing. We were all supposed to be leaves blowing in the wind, kind of getting pulled in many different directions. It seems absolutely chaotic, but all of us always end up in the same space every time, and we know how to get there because when we wandered, it may seem aimless, but we had a purpose. We were going to stop, move, and get into position. And that detail of okay, knowing I need to move around. This is how I'm going to move around. And I had purpose that movement, where I was being dragged by the wind and then stuttering around and stopping, and then repeating that again. But every time I'm moving, I'm heading closer and closer to the place where I need to be, and eventually, my location converges to that location, and I'm in a new formation. Okay, so that's movements, and of course, there are a lot more things that you can do with music and performing that help you emote better, but these are a couple of basics, and I believe that these four key components, your singing, your facial expressions, your gestures, and your movement, are a nice set of basics for you to keep in mind when you connect to your audience so you can elevate your performance and make it more impactful and meaningful. So that's all nice and well, but how do you practice these? So one of the things I love doing is singing in the shower. It is really uplifting, and honestly, bring your phone, go into the shower, play set music or play whatever music, and just sing. Sing your heart out. Be an opera singer. You're Il Divo now. Just go. Because what that lets you do is it throws away all your fears and it gives you confidence. Because we all know everyone is the best bathroom singer on this planet. You are the greatest singer when you're in the bathroom. Confidence. It really shows. When you are confident, your performances are better. When you're in the bathroom, no one's watching. You're having time, you're having your own time, and you're more confident naturally. It's very innate. And that lets you actually sing better because you have more fun and it sounds better too. That's one. Second, mirror singing, or as I showed earlier today, selfie camera singing. What this is intends to do is looking at your face when you're singing, being able to see what you're doing. I practice solo lines, how I want my face to change at certain points, how I want to vocalize a word in the mirror, because that lets me be in full control over what my face is doing at any given point in time. Yes, there are bad photos taken of everyone in acapella performances. That's not because we didn't practice in a mirror and they're like, oh, that face is ugly. It's because we're like, okay, I need to create this emotion, I need to go for that, and it makes a difference. So after mirror singing, there's another thing that you can do, that's buddy system. So pair up with someone during rehearsal or outside of rehearsal when you're doing sectionals, and just ask them to watch you sing and ask them to critique how you're emoting. You may say, but wait, Egan, what if that person doesn't know about emotion? Doesn't know the techniques of emotion? Look, the less they know is actually the better because then they will judge you not on these little techniques, but rather the actual raw emotion and the emotion, the channel of conveyance that you created. And if you were able to create that, then what makes what makes them different from any audience member? Buddy system, I think, really works really well when you're trying to get closer knit with your group members in your section and really bring out the best in each other because it lets you identify and fix problems that you may have, and it lets them also see ways that you convey emotions effectively, and they can then adapt it for their purposes. So yeah, so sing to the person, ask them to critique and analyze, swap, repeat, change partners. It's a great way of practicing. Another way I think is really good to practice how to emote is group rehearsals. Like when we do full set run throughs, please, like this is such a perfect opportunity for you to focus. I think that oftentimes having one person sit out of a group run and then rotating in and out kind of combines the buddy system and group rehearsals. That lets people see what people are doing. Film your rehearsals and your set run throughs because they make such a difference and be able to see, oh, Egan, dead face again. I knew it. This part, exactly this part where you have a boring line in a 10 or 2 because it's easy and you zone out. Okay. Now I know I shouldn't do that. I should keep my game face on and be like, do, 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 do. It's a difference. Like, do, 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 versus do, do, do. My face is dead and emotionless, and it isn't as effective, and it isn't as do, 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 do. Okay. So the last way you could practice is, of course, slide into my DMs. I'll roast you. We can all improve together. Ha 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 ha. Okay, no, but seriously, if you ever want to, like do like work on a song or an audition piece or just a solo, just let me know anytime. I'm more than happy to watch like voice call in this kind of situation and give you little tips and techniques on how to practice and build your performance. I think it's helpful because when I did my classical vocal training when I was younger, I would always get critiqued on just my performance as a whole by myself. And my vocal coach would tell me that, okay, I'm I'm watching you and I'm seeing this happening and you're changing this every time or you're sticking to this every time and that's good. And those small feedback and nuances that you get from working, with someone who has a little more of the experience and knowledge also helps. Again, the buddy system works really well, but if you want to just, talk to someone who has familiarity with and is used to being in tune and locked in to look for those things, I'm more than willing to help you guys out. Okay, so before we wrap up this very unexpectedly long workshop, thanks to technical difficulties, I'm going to talk a little bit about soloist and emoting, and bring about the stage presence part of a soloist. So, how do you create stage presence? Well, this comes from the fundamentals of the mood that you create for yourself and the execution of that mood. You appear bigger on stage when you move with confidence, when you're strutting down that walk, when you're stepping with confidence. One of my favorite parts of choreo, because it just sets up for the soloist. Not not that not because it was me, but because the way that it was set up was the opening for Say Amen that we did with the Fall Minors, where we just step out into a V, and that just as the soloist walks forward, when Zach walks forward, and I'm watching, it's incredible to see how he just like you just command the attention of the entire audience. Is like, yes, me, and every step is confident, and you feel big because it's like, yes, he is there, he's the soloist, commanding the audience. People are gonna look at you. Just move with confidence, and people will look at you. You'll be bigger and great. To establish stage presence, interact with the group. Like Asia did this in her run as Saiyaman at Ika's. She went over to Ryun and they grooved a little part of the song. It is so effective as a soloist. Just groove with the group and like look at each other, make eye contact, and hype each other up because the audience sees that you're in control and you guys are both feeling the same emotion and conveying it back to them. Ba-da-ba-doo. You can also interact with the audience. A lot of times, I like pointing to people in the audience. Um, Coffee houses are a great way to practice this and just look for examples because it's a little less formal, a little more casual, and it lets you really get into the face of the audience and be like, hey, you, yeah, you, yeah, you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Mama, can I get another amen? Oh, it's Saturday night. And just pointing at that person, it's like, oh wait, am I the mama that you need an amen from? It's like, whoa. That helps, the audience really connect with you as a performer. Of course, be appropriate about this. Don't get too close. Don't get like up in your face and it's like hello, hello, hello. Don't do that. Please don't do that. That's kind of mean. That's kind of rude. Okay. Cracking grins after like just going off on like a run or like being human on stage. That's another big part about performance, stage presence, and just getting your audience to connect with you. After hitting the high note and say amen, like I have to crack a grin. It's like yeah, I just did that and the audience loves it and buys into it because they see the humanity in the performance is like I am singing about how it's a Saturday night and I need a whole lot of prayers because it's Saturday night and it's like and everyone's like hey, so it works really well. Or for example, after you sing a really heart-wrenching phrase, let a tear fall. Again, amazing blues chasing love. There's so many small moments in the recording of that set that really showcase how you can use emotions. Timestamp around 5 minutes and 45 seconds or so. The soloist will actually breaks into tears because of how raw and emotionally powerful that part of the set is in terms of its overall meaning. Super, super powerful, super effective. In essence, as a soloist, have fun with the song and try to get into it, push the boundaries, and practice. And practice really makes a huge difference. So that's all the content I prepared in terms of what I want to cover. If you guys have any questions, I'm watching the chat. Fire away. Do, 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 do. Okay. Yes, Eugene, it really do be Saturday night. And yes, it is Saturday night tonight. What do you know? Once again, if you guys have any questions after the fact, please do let me know. Slide into my DMs, they're always open. I'm not actually spooky crazy, don't worry. Like, it's a gag. I spend a lot of time trying to make people laugh and also try not to laugh because like I can't see when I laugh. Okay, so before I head off into the distance, just as a recap, I covered about how do you establish your mood as a performer through your three main things of knowing your music, being confident in yourself as a performer, um, and finally buying into the emotion of the song or set. Um, I talked a little bit about how those three components help you establish the feel and the mood of a song internally. And if you struggle to actually do buy into the emotion of a performance as asked in one of the questions, a way you can do this and adjust is to look at interpretations of the song and covers of it and pick and choose elements from it. When you can't really directly relate to a song emotionally, it becomes a little harder to perform, and so the effort that you need to put into it to get the same payout is going to be a little higher. So after I talked about the mood and established it, I then went into the four areas of a performance: your singing, your facial expressions, your gestures, and finally your movement, and how these four aspects then tie into the way you convey that mood that you have created for and built for yourself to the audience and make them feel the feels. And finally, as last off, for things for like just sets and like just songs that you can watch to really feel emotion in the choreography, the expressions, the vocals. I think watching literally all of IFC's work is a great place to start because IFC's fundamental premise is storytelling through their sets, and they do an excellent job of taking your heart and just squeezing it a little and making it kind of sad and heart wrench. Yeah. Another really good set. I've referenced it several times throughout this workshop because I really, really, really like it, and thank you to Alyssa for showing it to me. Amazing Blues Chasing Love. I have very few words that can describe how much emotion is carried in that song through the vocality and through the choreo that they put together. It is very, very fluid and very, very emotionally effective. Um, I think songs like Run to You by Pentatonics, I think their cover of Imagine, um, Sound of Silence, those are really good songs that you can look at. The covers of like by Disturbed and by Pentatonics that really show and demonstrate different ways that you can create emotion through your your words, your stances, and and everything that I talked about. Um, for artists that you can look at and pull some ideas from, Brendan Urie is an amazing performer. He has so much fun on that stage, and even when he messes up, and like you can hear that he messed up, he plays it off, and he's so charismatic on that, and that creates a beautiful stage presence because there is a humanity to him, yet there is an unending confidence about that man. I also think a great starting point to learn about, and I guess to feel that okay, if they can do it, I can do it. Acapop kids, like they have so much fun in all their songs. Like I have to stand, like I stand them so much. They're a great set of performers, and it's really worthwhile. Okay, a question to pop up: how do you not pull focus from the soloist? Okay, so I believe that the soloist will demand the attention that they deserve to demand. As a part of the group, you don't have to worry about pulling attention from the soloist so long as you support the emotion that the soloist is conveying. The attention of the audience, of the audience will eventually shift back to the soloist because that's where the main message is being sung from. Of course, this also depends on the soloist because some soloists are a little more timid and they do things in different ways. Like for me as a soloist, I'm not worried about what the group is doing because I know that if I when I perform, they like the group performs too, and altogether the focus of the performance will gravitate towards a soloist throughout the song. And if the audience is looking at you as a background performer, that's actually really good in my opinion because when they look at you and they see that, oh, it's the same groove, same energy, same emotion as a soloist, it adds to the effect and the power of the entire performance. Hope that answers your question. If you want more clarification, just let me know. Otherwise, I think that is all the time I have I can take today. I've gone over a little, but acapella time. It be that way. So yes, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys learned something. If you didn't, maybe next time. If you guys have any questions about what I said or talked about today, feel free to message me. Give UWACC a follow on other social medias. That's at UWACC. My Instagram is tagged and my Facebook is tagged everywhere. Like you guys can find it. It's not that difficult. Um, Acapella will continue its online programming for the rest of the term. I hope you guys are staying safe and staying healthy. If you have any questions or you just want to talk about music or just hang out and have a great time, hit me up. I'm free most of the time. I hope you guys had a great time with this workshop. I know I did. And I hope you guys get better as singers. Peace. Or as emo Egan would say.